Hey everyone, Pupsker here, and today we're gonna have a RWBY Arrowfell review. This game will be coming out November 15th, one day after this review, so keep that in mind. This game is a Rooster Teeth game, if you aren't aware of the general lore around that. Rooster Teeth is an online video production, etc. studio, had a bunch of YouTube videos, and they had an older game as well called RWBY Grimm Eclipse, and I played and reviewed that back in the day, so I thought, why not a good idea? I got a review copy for RWBY Arrowfell, why not review this? So, without further ado, let's get started. Published and developed by Way Forward, okay? This will be RWBY Arrowfell. It is a 2D platformer, Metroid Vania styled game with a set of 4 characters that you can change between in the RWBY universe, and it is the main 4 cast of Ruby Rose, Weiss Schnee, Blake, Belladonna, and Yang Xiao. If I messed up the names, don't worry about it too much. Each of the 4 characters have a unique ability, or semblance if you will, and over time, once in the story, each of the characters will get an upgrade to their semblances. So let's say for instance Ruby, she goes forward, dodges attacks, and is invulnerable. Her upgrade just makes her cover a larger distance, right? And then throughout all of the chapters, all of the other characters will get upgrades as well, etc, etc. If you want a short little introduction about RWBY Arrowfell, I'll give you this little snippet. Set during RWBY Volume 7 and featuring an original in-canon story from the writers of the RWBY animated series, RWBY Arrowfell lets players take control of all 4 members of Team RWBY, Ruby Rose, Weiss Schnee, Blake, Belladonna, and Yang Xiao Long, as they uncover the mystery surrounding a dangerous new technology encountered near Atlas. Instantly swapping between all 4 members of Team RWBY, players will unleash the hero's signature weapon and semblances in ranged and melee combat against the Creatures of Grimm and other foes while completing quests, solving puzzles, and exploring more than 25 areas across the continent of soulless. Along the way, they'll also battle massive bosses, upgrade their semblances to reach new areas, and power up their attributes in 4 categories by discovering skill points. So that is the general idea behind the whole game there. You'll meet in-canon characters that you've seen throughout RWBY, and you'll get to chat with a lot of NPCs. I would recommend you chat with all of the NPCs in this game, as it's pretty important. It's a smaller game naturally, all things considered, so I would get the most out of it. Talk to all the characters, see what they have to say, as a lot of characters might give you stuff, give you little informations, tidbits of knowledge here and there, or you might get some quests, items, etc. So it's definitely recommended that you talk with everyone. The music in the game is songs by Jeff Williams with vocals by Casey Lee Williams, and I believe they do have an original theme song, so all in all, 10 out of 10. Those, I believe, are the artists that make the music for RWBY, so I mean, it does make sense. And it does have brand new in-story animations as well, right? Since it is probably an all-new canon story, it makes sense why they'd have some brand new animations as well, with voice acting, what have you. So I know this is probably going to be a big game for RWBY fans. It was originally supposed to come out in 2021, but it was pushed back to 2022. So happy to say that if you're a RWBY fan, chances are you will like this game. And if you like side 2D platformers, side scrollers, right, you'll most likely enjoy this as well. You'll get to upgrade your characters through their different skills and what have you, but this does have a slight issue where each 4 of the characters have a separate upgrade screen where you can upgrade melee, defense, energy heals, and range attack. But there are some things I've noticed about this game. First off, it means you'll get a character leveled very quickly, very fast, and you'll be pretty strong in the game. So I tend to use Ruby. I maxed out my Ruby and Blake as well because of her ability, and it's really strong. So I tend to just destroy everything now. one little drawback of the game. You get OP very fast, depending on how many characters you use or swap in between, and to be honest, there's not a huge reason to swap between characters mid-fight a lot, other than one or two. Using Blake's ability along with auto-attacking with RWBY is slightly ridiculously strong. So while the game does have a good, decent enough skill area ability tree, I found that it just gets wiped out too fast. You do have an inventory, you collect money from destroying enemies and obstacles around the map, but your inventory is mostly just going to be used to keep key items for quests and random items like revivals or one-time items, skill points, etc., etc. The game itself is fairly simple, and you'll pick it up probably from the first chapter on, very simply. It's just go to the area, talk to all the people in that area, and then you'll pick up some quests. Those quests will then send you to another area to go fight enemies and find items. And then from there, you'll just keep going on. Wherever the world map is taking you has a quest indicator, that's where you will be going, right? And then you'll just be searching along for items, searching along for people, chatting everyone up, etc., etc. You'll continually go along the game, unlocking new areas, talking to new people, and collecting new items. At the end of each chapter, there seems to be an animation and a boss fight, and all in all, not too bad. It's a fun little boss fight. This game isn't like technically very high skill cap. It's a simple game, right? You have melee attacks, you have ranged attacks, and then you have your character abilities between the four characters. You can swap between them, and that is good to know because using abilities in conjunction with other characters is really strong. When you use your ranged attack, it reduces your green energy in the top left, so I tend to just not use it because I just buffed up my melee attack, and that seems to do a ridiculous amount of damage. But I imagine if you're one of the safer players, you might like using ranged attacks. After all, your energy does restore a little bit, but it's just not for me. This game is definitely going to be a game for RWBY fans since it adds in-canon story around Volume 7. So I don't think a lot of non-RWBY fans will end up picking up this game, as there are better platformers, like 2D side-scrolling platformers out there, such as Hollow Knight, and the gameplay and technicalities around that is just generally far more advanced. But RWBY Arrowfell is a decent game if you want a simpler style of 2D platforming, side-scrolling Metroid Vania type gameplay. You continually upgrade your abilities, well, once in a while throughout the story, which will then unlock new areas in maps, which will then complete quests doing other objectives here and there. And once you're done with the game, you'll probably have spent maybe anywhere from 7 to 10 hours, maybe 5 to 10 hours, depending on how fast you are. I can't say for sure how many chapters the game has, as I haven't fully completed it. It looks like around 5 or so chapters, and I think no matter what, you should be able to get the game done in around 10 hours. But it is actually surprisingly a good length of game. It's around $30 on Steam, and you know, I'm pleased to say it is good value overall, because I remember playing RWBY Grimm Eclipse back in the day, and the amount of gameplay that game had was just not enough. I think I completed it in like 3 hours, if that. So happy to say this game has more gameplay than that. But it does suffer from being a little too simplistic, and the fact that your characters get upgraded so fast means that my RWBY is stacked, while my Yang has no upgrades, while my Weiss has no upgrades, but my Blake is also pretty strong, so it does have a weird setup with upgrading characters there. Throughout each of the cities, you'll find generally merchants, and that's where you can get certain upgrades like HP, skill points, and items to heal you in case you run into some trouble. It looks like you have a HP cap heart cap in total of 8. So once you get to 8 hearts, yeah, you'll be pretty tanky, and it's not too hard to buy out the hearts either, because you'll be collecting a lot of coins just running through the maps. As long as you're just destroying destructibles, fighting enemies, you should be good to go there. So all in all, I do think RWBY Arrowfell, like I said, is a good game, and it's probably worth picking up if you like the cutesiness of the story. A lot of the characters are pretty adorable. They have good personality. The animation style of the game is also very nice. It's nothing too advanced, okay? It's not a AAA game. It looks a little bit more akin to a mobile game, or just like an earlier, simpler style game, right? Like, the polygons aren't too fleshed out, nothing's too high detail, and the characters do look a little rubbery, but you know, that's just kind of the style of the animation. It's not a massive AAA styled game, so it's not too surprising. But the art style itself is pretty adorable, pretty cutesy, and I'm not too mad about it. I just saw that, you know, maybe some people might get a little mad at the art style, but hey, other than that, not much to it. So it's a good game. You'll probably like it more if you like RWBY, because you'll get more talks with the characters, more personality around characters new and old. So probably worth a shot. But if you're looking for a highly technical Metroid Vania styled 2D side scroller, this is probably not for you, because it definitely does suffer from being a little too simplistic. The controls can feel a little clunky. I originally started playing on mouse and keyboard, and that was a terrible idea. I should say keyboard, because there's no use for a mouse. So I swapped over to my Xbox controller, and no shock there. It's definitely a lot better playing on a controller, as most Metroidvania style 2D side scrollers are exactly that. But I did have fun with what I played. I stopped playing around midway through chapter 3. I beat chapter 2, played around like a bit with chapter 3, but from chapter 1, you definitely completely understand the style of game and how the game works through and through, as it's not a increasingly complex game, lays it out all in the starting chapter, and then you just go from there. Like I said, worth it if you like RWBY, but if you want something too technical, probably not worth it. If you want me to rate it, I'd probably rate it anywhere from like 6 to 7 out of 10. Whereas, yeah, you'll love it if you're in it for RWBY, but if you're not, it's probably not for you. So let me know what you think, like, subscribe, and check out any of my other videos if you want to support the channel. Just thought I would make a review out of this because someone sent me a review key and it looked like a cute, fun game. So let me know what you think. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time. Peace.